The figure was revised to 4, the death toll, but the number of wounded seems to have gone up to 60. Of course, many people have been wounded by pieces of glass because the explosion was also very loud and the glass came shattering down in many of the nearby buildings. It's a very crowded residential area, so the number of wounded is likely to go up. Fortunately, many of those are lightly wounded, not very dangerously wounded because of shards of glass, but we still are not sure how many people have been killed so far, and the figure could go up.
And just looking on Twitter, Rami, lots of people are speculating this is related to the Syrian conflict. Do we have any idea of who was targeted and who carried this out?
No idea so far, but we know that many groups fighting the government in Syria have threatened such attacks against Hezbollah. Hezbollah, of course, is heavily involved alongside the government in Syria in the conflict over there. They are very efficient fighters, and their intervention has been seen by both sides to be forceful and decisive in many key battles in Syria. So it is quite likely that there is a link. We don't know for a fact, but that is quite likely. Also, 2 days ago, there was an announcement of the arrest of Majid al-Majid, who is the leader of one group that not only threatened but carried out, or at least claimed responsibility for a number of attacks, including the attack against the Iranian embassy in Beirut. He was arrested in Lebanon a couple of days ago, and he has been saying that there will be attacks against Hezbollah in Lebanon and especially in Beirut because of Hezbollah's involvement in Syria.
And Rami, we've had this attack today. Last week, a high-profile political advisor was assassinated. Has this violence affected life in Beirut? Is it noticeable there are more precautions being taken?
Well, the precautions are mostly noticeable after such attacks. Of course, Beirut, or a very main street in downtown Beirut, was cut off for a couple of days after the explosion you mentioned, in which Mohammed Shattah, the former government minister, was assassinated. Quite likely that there will be similar disruption in Dahi, in the southern suburbs of Beirut in the coming hours and maybe even days as the investigation goes on over there into this latest attack. However, there is also, of course, the country is always shocked and shaken by such attacks, but it's become almost a part of life here in Lebanon. Many people are beginning to draw comparisons between Lebanon and Iraq. It's not as bad, of course, as the situation in Iraq, but there is a lot going on, and a lot of it is clearly related to what's going on in Syria.